Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy, Brandy Boy, back at it again with another Fallout 4 video. And for this video, I'm going to be showing y'all my top 10 bruh moments in Fallout 4. Even if you aren't familiar with the term, we all know what bruh moments are deep down. It can be anything really, but basically, it's when something silly or outrageous happens which leaves you awestruck, and the only thing you can say is bruh, because you just got BS'd. Fallout 4 is home to plenty of these bruh moments. And I know we can all relate here, so let's go ahead and see what these bruh moments have in store. Starting off at number 10 is something that I like to call piercing God rays. It's when those fancy God rays from the sun pierce straight through any form of matter. According to the Fallout lore, this is because the sun was nuked by China during the Great War, so the sun was strengthened by the extra nuclear radiation, and now the gamma waves are so overwhelming that the photons in the light from the sun can punch through all forms of matter. That's how the lore scientists would explain it. But we all know that it's actually Todd Howard's holy light shining through. Remember everyone, if you don't buy Skyrim again, Todd's light will find you. Not really, I made all of that up. It's actually an unintended bug that can happen quite often in both Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. Most often, it'll happen when the sun is setting, and that's when the God rays are at their most dramatic point. They do look pretty cool and cinematic, but whenever they pierce right through an entire hillside, it really spoils your immersion. Literally unplayable. And every time it happens, I can't help but let out a big ol' bruh, because it ruins my otherwise beautiful looking game. Moving on to number 9, exaggerated ragdolls. If you've played any Bethesda game, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Whenever you shoot and kill something, it just may get slingshotted into outer space. Due to Newton's third law, every action requires an opposite and equal reaction, so whenever you shoot at something, it has to go flying away with extreme force. Or at least, that's how the Fallout physics engine handles it. I've noticed it with all types of enemies. Humans, animals, monsters, mutants, and most noticeably, the Radstag. 9 times out of 10 when you shoot their head, it gets launched into orbit at high velocity. I always like to watch as it comes plummeting back down to Earth. What can I say? It's really engaging. These goofy ragdoll physics are a feature in other Bethesda games, with the most infamous example being the Giant Slam in Skyrim. Turns out that feature got carried over to Fallout 2, and honestly, I'm not too mad that it was never fixed because it always makes me chuckle. It never gets old. Still a bro moment, of course, because it can happen unexpectedly and distract you from the task at hand. I'm also no lore expert here, but I dare say it's quite unimmersive to see a deer's head get catapulted across the wasteland. At the number 8 spot is another silly one, but it can surely get you killed. It's when you get caught reloading while in VATS. It can make for quite an awkward encounter, because while you were completely ready to shoot someone's head off, it turns out you forgot to reload. So you have to sit through an uncomfortably long cutscene while your character fiddles with their weapon. It looks especially goofy when the camera pans around and acts all dramatic, cutting between you and the enemy as if it's an anime fight scene, all the while your character is just standing there, calmly reloading, and the chaos around them is unfolding in slow motion. It's especially excruciating if your weapon has an abnormally long reload, such as a tube-fed lever action or shotgun. It's kinda like the same feeling as getting caught with your pants down, and then also getting blue-balled right after. You were expecting to blow your load into someone's face, only to get cut off right before the moment of anticipation. And to make it worse, you have to watch an unnecessarily long cutscene before you can resume the fun activities. It's the sense of your expectations being shattered, which can cause confusion, hysteria, embarrassment, and most of all, it just may cause you to say bruh. 7th place belongs to none other than our best friend, Dogmeat. He's a good boy, don't get me wrong, but sometimes he can get you into trouble by running straight into traps. I mean, for him, it doesn't really matter because he's an immortal godlike being, but the player character, not so much. Dogmeat's carelessness just may get you killed. And if it's not that, then he'll give himself a major owie. But seriously, he can be quite the handful, especially when you're trying to sneak around or disarm a trap, only for him to run headfirst right into it. It's almost like he's doing it on purpose sometimes to prank us. He's just in a silly, goofy mood, you could say. A mood which involves recklessly setting off traps and explosives. But that's okay. I always forgive him. He's still the goodest boy in the wasteland. You'll just have to train him well, and make him stay behind when you need to clear the area first. But if you don't do that, then you're in for some big bruh moments for sure. Coming in at 6th place is something literally every single Fallout gamer runs into. Or actually, it'll prevent you from running entirely. That is being over-encumbered. Of course, this happens when you surpass your inventory weight limit. It happens rather abruptly, though. You can sprint around at full speed with ease at 300 pounds, but once you get to 301, then that's just entirely too much. To be fair, you can already carry absurd amounts of junk in your inventory, but hitting that threshold always manages to be disappointing, no matter how ridiculously high it may be. Once you do hit the limit, you'll be stuck walking around at a snail's pace, and you'll have to sort through your inventory to pick out which junk you can afford to drop. If you're an absolute loot goblin, then it may be really hard to let go. I know, it can be tough to relinquish some of those valuables, but sometimes you have to make sacrifices in order to move on in life. But if you're like me, then you'll slug it out and slow walk to the nearest vendor. Or you can simply work smarter by using buffs to increase your strength. The best workaround, though, is to drop a heavy item from your inventory, then carry it in the air. It's literally just like those troll physics memes. If something is too heavy to carry, then you can simply use telekinesis. And don't worry, it's actually 100% lore-friendly and immersive, because as we all know, magic exists in the Fallout universe. But all of that is pretty much irrelevant once you get the max rank and the strongback perk. Then you'll be able to jog and fast travel even while over-encumbered. But until you're high enough level to get that perk, you'll be saying bruh every time your carry weight reaches the threshold. Blasting its way into 5th place is the Fat Man. While it is super fun to use yourself, it's not so great when you're on the receiving end. And that's when it becomes a big problem. Fat Man wielding enemies are rare, but when you do run into them, they can easily one-shot you before you can even comprehend what the hell just happened. You just may be wandering around all willy-nilly without a worry in the world, only to be greeted with the power of the sun out of nowhere. The Fat Man does have some pretty decent range, so if the enemy is able to detect you, you are not safe. And if you're not actively paying attention, then you just might get blindsided by a fun-sized nuclear bomb. Being obliterated instantly without having the time to react can definitely be frustrating, but there are signs to avoid the situation. The main one being the whistling sound of the mini-nuke when it's flying through the air. The problem, though, is that it may be hard to find the projectile while it's hurtling towards you. You don't really have enough time to track it down and make big brain calculations of the trajectory. You basically just gotta pick a direction and run for your life. And hopefully, you don't run straight into the impact. Either way though, it still might be too late. By the time you hear the mini-nuke coming, you're almost certainly doomed. And you just have to hope that it wasn't aimed for you. Sometimes you may even run into the path of destruction by accident. Now that is a bamboozlement beyond measure, and it makes for quite a bombastic bruh moment in Fallout 4. The number 4 bruh moment belongs to the pre-war cars scattered around the Commonwealth. These things are dormant time bombs, because they have nuclear reactors inside of them. I have no clue how they passed safety regulations, because they blow up at the slightest touch. But as we all know, mega corporations don't care for the safety of their consumers. They really took it to the extreme with the cars though. These things are pocket-sized Chernobyl power plants, just itching to destroy an entire block with a nuclear blast. I bet the IRA would have a field day with these cars. They're basically a free nuke mine, and in some areas, they'll crowd the entire road, making it into one giant death trap. And all it takes is a few bullets to set it off. Like, you'd think they'd at least put some kind of protection around the reactor, but no. It's got the same durability as a wet piece of paper. Usually, you'd expect a car to be a viable form of light cover, but in Fallout, that will not be the case. It'll just get you blown up. Even when there's nobody shooting at them, the cars are still the deadliest and most deceitful trap in the entire game. Sometimes, if you hit a corner just right, you'll die instantly. It's kinda like hitting your hip on the corner of a table, but in this case, it's lethal. I know it's a bug, but for some reason, the game must think you're getting ran over by the car, when in reality, you're the one running into it. But the game can't tell the difference, so it just kills you. That's even more insulting than getting blown up, because it makes no sense, and it wasn't your fault at all. But unfortunately, we have to deal with it. And when it's your first time playing the game, you'll have to find out the hard way. Every single time they get me, it's just one giant, gargantuan bruh moment. And I hate them so much that I had to install a mod which increases their durability. And now it's finally more playable. Breaking into the top 3 now are the biggest bruh moments of them all. Much less the funny aspect though. These are downright agitating and annoying to deal with. So number 3 is one we all know, the game's performance. Fallout 4 is not well optimized, and we still have to deal with its performance issues even in 2022 with the latest and greatest hardware. It doesn't matter if you have a god tier PC, you will still suffer from ridiculous frame drops, especially in crowded areas like downtown Boston. I have an RTX 3080, but I'm having trouble getting over 60 frames per second in downtown. Since I play with a whole lot of mods, the problem is amplified even further. I'd be lucky to get a consistent 40 FPS in those crowded areas, and the addition of microstutters makes it insufferable. Honestly, the game can be almost unplayable at times, so I question every day as to why I still play it. The answer is mods, of course, but at the same time, having too many mods can make your performance even worse, so I'm not really helping the situation here. I simply try my best to avoid those crowded areas as much as possible, but they are necessary to explore, and you'd be missing out on a big chunk of the game. There's no avoiding it, so you'll have to suck it up and close your eyes, because if you do look at your screen, it's gonna strain your vision and give you an aneurysm. Every time my frame rate drops below 30, I die a little more on the inside. At that point, you have to rely on VATS to aim for you, because manually aiming is going to be way too jagged and choppy. Lower frame rates are playable, but once you get used to 100, it hurts to go back. The worst part here is the inconsistency and stuttering. I feel especially bad for those with less powerful systems. It must look like a slideshow to walk through the downtown area. Either way, we all have to admit that Fallout 4 does not have the best performance, and it's very annoying to put up with. Every time I get a frame drop or microstutter, I can't help but say bruh. What's even worse than bad performance is when the game doesn't work at all. Second place goes to crashing. It provides nothing but pure frustration, and it just may discourage you from playing the game entirely. When it comes to crashing, there's several different types, which includes crashing to desktop, freezing, and infinite load screens, all of which suck to deal with because they take you out of the game and force you to restart. Not only that, but if you don't save constantly, then you could lose some of your in-game progress. If the problem persists, then you'll have to take time out of your day to fix your game, and that's a headache in of itself. I know that I've spent countless hours tailoring my game to be as stable as possible by using performance mods and tweaking my settings, but still, it's far from perfect. Even if you have your load order perfectly organized and optimized, the game will still crash on you because the engine just can't handle it. I suppose we can't expect a video game to handle hundreds of mods, but I mean, that's the only way to play Fallout 4 these days. Playing vanilla Fallout 4 would be way more of a bruh moment. And even with no mods, the game still has issues with stability. Either way you play, you're bound to get a crash at some point. And by now, I've come to accept the fact that it's one of Fallout 4's main features. You just gotta deal with it if you want to play. But now, for the biggest, most baddest bruh moment of them all. We all know it well. It's universally hated and admonished by the Fallout community. You know what I'm talking about.
And I hope you don't mind, but I've got another favor to ask. I've had word from a settlement asking for help.
Preston Garvey. His nagging has got to be the most annoying thing in the entire universe. Every single time, without fail, he's always got another damn settlement that needs your help. Ugh, just sends me into a blind rage every time I hear that line. I hate it with every fiber in my being. Anyway, I hate everything about Preston. He's a whiny little crybaby that needs you to do all the work for him while he walks around in Sanctuary, pretending to patrol the perimeter. Preston alone is the main reason why I don't like siding with the Minutemen. He's poorly written and implemented into the game. I hate to say it, but maybe it would be better for the story if he died back in Quincy. I bet the dead Minuteman outside the Museum of Freedom has a stronger backbone than him. But it doesn't matter who takes his place. The whole Minuteman questline is rinse and repeat. Talk to Preston, help a settler, then clear out a new settlement, then return to Preston, and he'll tell you to do it all over again. It's just a nuisance, really, and it's very lazy and a boring quest design. Even handling the settlements is a big problem in of itself. Your settlers will still need your help. They're basically like babies that need all their needs taken care of. I can understand wanting to give the player complete control, but at the same time, I shouldn't be the errand boy that does all the menial tasks. I guess it's not that bad, but Preston's incessant nagging makes it so much more irritating, and there's only so many times I can hear it before it drives me insane. It's like when your parents tell you to do a chore, but you were already gonna do it, so then you get mad and don't want to do it anymore. Clearing out settlements on my own is alright, but when Preston Garvey tells me to do it, I lose all my passion instantly. This man has negative 10 charisma. I don't like him at all. He's annoying, cringe, and blue-pilled. It's too bad, really, because the Minutemen could have been such a cool faction, but Preston spoils all the fun. Every time he opens his mouth, I can't help but say, bruh. And I really wish there was a dialogue option in game. At this point, I'd rather deal with endless frame drops and crashing then hear Preston say that another settlement needs my help. It's easily the biggest bruh moment in all of Fallout 4. And that wraps up my top 10 bruh moments in Fallout 4. I hope y'all enjoyed it and found it entertaining. Well, I know I got a bunch of the common ones. I'm curious to see what y'all have to say. What are your biggest bruh moments in Fallout 4? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to see more content like this, then make sure to nuke that like button and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when I post a new video. With all that being said, I'll see y'all in the next video.